Jeremy Corbell and Ross Coulthart sat down with Chris Cuomo on News Nation to talk about the release of UFO public records, right? And maybe some road bumps that might be in the way. So let's dive in. If you're new to the channel, y'all, and you like content like this, please hit that subscribe button. We put out a new video every day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do not miss a day. And, of course, hit that like button, y'all. That really helps out the videos. So thank y'all so much for the support there, vetters. And, of course, comment down below. What do you think of these particular public records and the release of them, right? And how maybe there's going to be some pushback, of course, right? And also some of the records that I'm going to show y'all, right? What do you think of them? They're very interesting. So, again, links in the description. You can go check all of this out. All featured in the National Archives, right? So, again, we're going to take a look at this clip from Chris Cuomo, and then we're going to look at some examples from the National Archives that are fascinating. I've got a couple that we're going to look at, then, that's it. So let's dive in, y'all. All right. First video. Jeremy Corbell, Chris Cuomo, Ross Coulthart. Let's go.
So after News Nation interviewed UFO whistleblower David Grush, Congress took immediate action-ish, right? They did pass legislation requiring the government to tell the public what it knows about UFOs, but then you get that little tricky piece in there about what's classified. So now the federal government has begun collecting all of its UFO documents to be made public. Really? Let's ask News Nation special correspondent Ross Coulthart and investigative journalist, co-host of the Weaponized podcast, Jeremy Corbell. It's good to have you both, brothers. Thank you for being here. Ross, I am skeptical. What is the reason to believe that this is good news in terms of transparency?
Firstly, g'day, Chris. It's good news because this law change that came in December, it requires that all UAP records be passed across from every single government department. They're now legally required to hand over any records they've got that relate to unidentified anomalous phenomena and to hand them to the independent body, your National Archives, the American National Archives. Mm-hmm. And that's very, very important because the National Archives will make a decision, not those government departments, about what should remain classified. And more importantly, this new legislation also says that any records that were created 25 years ago or more, so let's say before 1999, there will be a presumption in many ways of release unless there's a very, very good national security reason that they not be released.
Unless there's a very good national security reason why they might not be released. Again, that's the out to not release anything, right, of value, I guess you would say. But let's be real. How could that not be included, right? National security, unfortunately, is a wedge in the door to get it open, right? We can't get the door all the way open. There's always going to be this wedge there of national security. And that's never going to go away, right? I mean, we have a nation to protect. So it's like it's just a catch-22, right? We, the public, Americans, deserve to have access to those files, but the government also has a duty to protect, right, us from ourselves, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of what government does, I guess. I don't know. I've kind of lost track of what a government is supposed to do and not do. And right. Anyway, that's a different podcast. But I don't know. I'm curious what y'all think. Again, what he's talking about is the National Defense Authorization Act, right? There was a UAP amendment that was put together by many people, Grush included, and it got gutted, right? It got passed. It got included in the National Defense Authorization Act and signed by Biden at the end of the year, but it got sort of, quote unquote, gutted. There was supposed to be a panel. There was supposed to be, eminent domain, other different parts of it. And now instead, it's just the release of the files. Like, that's still included. But again, how can we trust that? Right? How are we supposed to know? But at the same time, are we going to bitch and moan about getting something? Right? It's like, I don't know. It's probably never good enough, and for good reason on both sides. It's like, just to, again, an unwinnable battle, in my opinion, to some extent. Because even if they did release everything and said, yep, this is everything, how would we know? There's no way for us to know if everything ever got released. Now, with that said, if they confirmed, aliens and UFOs and crash retrieval programs and all that stuff, I don't think it would matter past that point. If we got basic disclosure, I think most people would be satisfied with that and would understand that there would be a line past that we couldn't know certain things. And again, I think that's all the government needs to realize, is that there's a spectrum of disclosure. And if we just get, a basic disclosure, that most Americans will be happy with that, for sure. Granted, do we want more? Yeah. But I can understand it happening behind the scenes. But I think most people just want their beliefs validated, right? Their personal experiences validated, right? They've seen a UFO, they've had an experience, whatever, whether it be from the first, second, third, fourth kind, right? A close encounter. People just want that validated. And if the government says and the public admits it and everyone is sort of acknowledges this new truth, right, in reality, that would pretty much suffice most people. Of course, there's going to be people that want more, and I get it. I totally get it. And again, we'll never know if they release it all. Let me back up a little bit here. And again, if y'all want to watch this clip uninterrupted, I'll put a link in the description. You go check it out. I can't just play the clip without any commentary, okay? That's against copyright rules, so just FYI. All right, let's continue.
So that could potentially mean, for example, that we might see declassification of records that I know the Air Force is still holding on to about events that took place in the 1940s and 50s, like Roswell and the Aztec incident. And so we might see a possibility where they're forced by the National Archives to reveal documents that they've been sitting on for decades.
So I hear you. I want to believe. But as I pivot to Jeremy, when I hear National Archives, I hear another opportunity to cover things up with another mechanism. Do you feel the flavor of that skepticism?
I do. Look, I am optimistic, and like Ross, we want the same thing. We are both optimistic, but more important than being optimistic, we are fighting to make sure that we keep an eye on everything that's going on. But the reality is that classified UAP information, they're annexed, they're put to the side. The National Archives has almost a 0% chance of getting them and reviewing them properly because of national security. But if people like Ross and me, if we're on it and we keep our eye on them, we can force the issue. I'll give you an example, Chris. George Knapp and I tried. We notified Congress and the American public. We brought in hand to those hearings DIA documents. We brought them in our hands, and we tried to submit them onto the congressional record. And that didn't happen, but we did try, and we did use in our official statements in Congress, when we put them in, we did tell them, we exposed a massive and extensive UAP archive that the DIA has in their possession. And the DIA is currently pretending not to have it. I have seen these documents. I have personally seen them. They are not classified. Our Congress needs to look at what George Knapp and I submitted. They saw the physical documents when we brought some of them in, but now they are denying having them, the DIA. It's hard to deny something I've seen with my own eyes.
Wow, I didn't know that from Corbell doing that. See, guys, look, and I've been hard on Corbell myself, and it's not just because he gave me a shout out on his Twitter. If you didn't know that, he did. Even after I've criticized him on this show, right? I mean, it's vetted. We go, we everybody, right? We go after everybody. It's like comedy. We go after everybody. And I got to admit, I'm just saying, I've seen some interviews with him lately. Corbell really does a good job in this community of getting the word out, trying to do things, actively trying to do things. Now, you may not agree with how he does it or the outcome or whatever, but I'm done sort of, like saying, oh, he doesn't do shit for the community. I'm done saying that because he does. More than 95% of people on here. And to be honest, I've seen him handle criticism way better than most people. in this community. Now, he's not perfect. Neither am I. Nobody is. But I'm just saying. So shout out to Corbell and Ross Coulthart for doing this, and Chris Cuomo for covering this. We need these conversations more. So regardless of whatever debunkers or skeptics or whatever, if they're on that side or whatever they want to call themselves, it's like we need to have this conversation. I just don't see the negative part about having this conversation. You know what I mean? And they should want these files more than anything. They should be pushing for this more than anything. Right? Could prove them right. But the fact that Jeremy is going with these documents now, I will say, if they're not classified, why can't we see them? Why can't he release those to the public and we can see those files if they're not classified? I don't know. Be curious. He's trying to submit them to congressional record. And I'm not sure, actually. Is that then public record? Whatever gets submitted to the congressional record? I think it is. Because Jeremy and George submitted statements. They were going to testify at the July hearing. I don't know if y'all knew that. Some of y'all probably did. But they were actually going to testify. And then last minute, they decided not to have them testify because they had a lot of other witnesses that were going to testify, more than 3, but a lot of them backed out. I think they were going to have 10 or 11. And a lot of them said they got pressured or whatever not to testify. So, you had Grush, Graves, and Fravor. And then Corbell and George Knapp were going to testify. And instead of testifying, they just submitted their statements, basically, that they would have probably read. And that we got to see those. That was part of public record. So I wonder if those documents, one, why didn't they accept them? Right? Why didn't they get into the public record? Is it because they couldn't be verified that they were DIA documents? But I don't think that would matter because the Wilson memo has been submitted, and that wasn't necessarily verified, but because it was brought up in a hearing, I think it was like May 2022. I don't remember which one it was, but I'm sure someone in the comments will point that out. But that got, put into the record. Now, again, that doesn't mean that it's true. It just means it's brought up during the hearing. Therefore, all assets and documents and everything that's brought up goes into that. So I wonder if because it wasn't testified to, that's why it didn't go in. But again, their statements went in, and that wasn't testified to. That went into public record. So I'd be curious why the documents didn't go into public record, why we can't see the documents if they're not in public record, if they were going to be put into public record, right? Why doesn't Jeremy release those? I'd be curious to hear his reason for that. And if they had been put in public record, would we be able to see them anyway? And again, why wouldn't they accept them? Could they not verify their DIA? He's saying they're official DIA. They're not classified. Why can't we see them? Why wouldn't they take them into the record? I don't know. That's curious, right? And what's on those documents?
Ross, just last quick thing. Even what we see with the spy balloons, right? Now they're monitoring another one. Last year, it led to fighter jets shooting down several unidentified objects over the U.S. and Canada. No word on what they were. When you come...
Which, by the way, real quick, they didn't know this as they're filming this, but today, another spy balloon is flying around. No joke. Almost same time period, y'all, right? From a year ago. It's weird, right? Same thing happening. They're tracking it. Who knows what's going to happen? I promise you're going to hear about more than just that one. And is this something that's getting out of control? What's going on here? Right? So, I don't know. We'll see what happens with this new spy balloon, right?
The lack of advantage of one party over the other on this issue and just general apathy of things that don't benefit them directly. You got a lot of inertia working against you on this issue. What do you think breaks through it, Ross?
Well, I'm here in Washington, Chris, because I'm trying to find out what's really going on. Because as you say, there's not a lot happening publicly, but I've been meeting people on the Hill and I've been talking to people in intelligence and defence. And I can tell you there is a bipartisan push still happening in Congress for the release of information. Politicians can smell a vote when they see one. And I can tell you they can see there is electorate interest, voter interest in getting this stuff out there. I am besieged with people giving me information. And so I can tell you that there have been secret meetings in Congress, secret briefings in Congress, and there is a new initiative underway by a group called the New Paradigm Institute to basically try to get new legislation to force greater disclosure.
So that New Paradigm Institute is Daniel Sheehan. Which, by the way, I have reached out to New Paradigm Institute to see if I can get an interview with Danny Sheehan. I just sent it today, so I haven't heard back, but we'll see. If y'all want to help with that, go, post on his Twitter, whatever, in a videos, like tweet at him, message him, email him if you want, saying, hey, we want you to, have an interview with Patrick from Vetted. That would maybe help get that interview. I do have a feeling some people are not going to want to come on the show. I'm not necessarily saying they're worried about me asking tough questions. They may just not like me. They may not think it helps them. I don't know. Could some people be scared? Sure, but that's not my first inclination. Who knows, right? There could be many reasons someone wouldn't want to come on the show. But look, I am going to try. So we'll see. And y'all can help, vetters. Y'all can really help make that happen, because if they get that, pressure, that might help them, come on the show. Now, again, let's be civil about it. But I'm not asking anyone to do anything crazy here. Just civilly, nicely, respectfully, right? Imagine you're talking to them in person, right? Let's show them that the vetted community is civil and respectful. But yes, I do want to have that interview with Daniel Sheehan, so I'll keep y'all updated and let y'all know. Anyway, that's what they're talking about, the New Paradigm Institute and what they're pushing, trying to help with legislation. Because I got to be honest, I'm not entirely sold on the New Paradigm Institute just yet. There's some things about it that are interesting. I just don't know. Right? But anybody helping trying to get legislation, well, that's a good thing, right? And it's positive to hear that it's bipartisan support. And yes, they can smell the vote. I've been saying that for months on here, y'all, that this was going to become an election issue. In fact, I think I made a short about months ago, how far are you willing to go, right, to get this vote, right? Like, essentially, are you willing to disregard your other political views, right? Does that make sense? To get this, if you're a hardcore Democrat, would you vote for a Republican if you thought it would help, right? And vice versa. If you're a hardcore Republican, would you vote for a Democrat? Right. How much of your issues, your other political issues, are you willing to push aside? Is this the most important? Where does it fall in the tier? Everyone's going to have to decide that this year. But look, with that said, what's great about bipartisan support, sounds like you might not have to, right? So that's a good thing to hear, because I honestly would be worried if it was just, Republicans trying to get this out, or Democrat. Like, that would worry me. That would make me think there's something fishy going on, to be honest with you. So I'm happy to hear bipartisan support, right? Because this issue breaks through politics, right? This is about humanity, right? Not to get all cliche with it and serious, right? But that's the truth. So it sort of breaks past that, right? What would connect humanity, you would hope, right? What would connect humanity more than finding out there's another intelligent species that A, exists, and B, visits here, right? Or is here, right? And what if there was multiple? And that, right, all of a sudden, instead of being I'm American, or I'm white, or I'm, Mexican, or I'm black, or I'm Indian, or whatever you are, right? Your nationality, your race, it would just be, I'm human. I'm an earthling, right? Although we need a new name, not earthling. That just, I don't like that. Earthling. Earthling. I'm an earthling. I don't like that. That just sounds like, hello, earthlings. We're here to get you, right? Like the very Mars Attacks, which great movie, by the way. I'm just saying. We need a new name. Earthers? I don't know. See, y'all throw out some names down in the comments. That'd be interesting to hear what different names y'all could come up with for people from Earth. Anyway, all right, let's continue.
Look, let's hope it happens, Ross. Jeremy, we're all on the same page with this about transparency, but I got to know, Jeremy, what's in the safe? What's in the safe,
What's safe, Chris?
Over your right shoulder.
What's safe?
What's in the safe? Over your shoulder.
I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, Ross.
There's a big-ass safe right over your shoulder.
I'm so grateful. Listen, Chris, Ross, we can do this together. Every millimeter
Guns, Chris.
we can fight for. To have eyes on right now is such an important time. Thank you so much for bringing us all together. I really respect what you guys do. It's time to fire, man. It's time to hunt.
Well, we'll stay on it. Ross, Coulthart, thank you very much. Jeremy, Corbell, I think you got the rest of my hairline in that safe. Please send it back to me. We'll be continuing this conversation, and thank you for pushing for transparency. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to
Look, I can appreciate Chris Cuomo just trying to throw some humor into this. Don't forget, we need that in this, all right, to stay sane and get through day after day. I personally just love humor in my life. I love laughing. This is what I do all the time. I love making jokes. That's my life. So I can appreciate that. But anyway, let's jump to the goodies, y'all. If you're still watching at this point, thank you for sticking around. Or skip to this point. Someone can put a timestamp, 21:36. Go. All right. Boom. National Archives. So there's already some stuff being released, right, that's been talked about. This actually. Records related to unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs at the National Archives, right? So I'm going to put a link to this. This is like the main link. And then from here, you can, do your thing. And if you go up here, I can't get to it, but there's a search bar. Make sure you put stuff in quotations in the search bar, right? That'll help you find exactly what you're looking for, right? Put it in quotations. Anyway, let's take a look at some stuff I found. Project 1794. Okay. This is so cool, y'all. I mean, I'm telling y'all, some of this stuff is already cool. Just look at this file. Like, wouldn't you love to have a file like this, just like all whatever, right? Just old paper and old stamps and old, declassified. It's just like already cool, man. Right, it's got some just very interesting stuff. But let's get to the goodies here because we're on YouTube, right? So, boom, boom, boom. What the F, right? I put that in the thumbnail. I think this is the one I used in the thumbnail. Right? Working on this, right? Actually working to, I don't know. Right? Dude. Look, they got a guy sitting in there. Right? That's a tight fit. It basically looks like an F-16 that they wrapped a UFO around, which is interesting. Right? And thinking about the Townsend Brown video from Jesse Michaels and all that, right? Like, some of this stuff just seems reminiscent of that. I'm just saying. But this is this is just one thing on here that I found, right? It's 141 pages about this project, 1794. Right? Look at that. Secret, right? Just looks cool, man. I'm just saying. Yeah. Okay, I can't turn that, but let's see. Let's zoom in on it. I mean, that is just wow. Gas turbine. So that's interesting, right? They're thinking about it in a gas way. So there's the seat, pilot seat. Right, this looks a little different now. But man, that is just like, this is what we were working on? What in the hell? There's actually more there, right? You can't see it. Isn't that crazy? I don't know if that's bleed in from another paper. It looks like there's another paper there on top, but I mean, just so cool. I wish I could turn this thing, but I can't. Pilot's canopy. See, that looks like a. So I can turn. No, I can't turn this, y'all. Outer wing, inner wing, lower intake turbine, impeller, ASM, Viper 8 engine air intake, right? Internal airflow ducts, flame holders, trim metering valve, exhaust diffuser, flight control shutters. Wow, look at all those little shutters around. Okay, interesting. I mean, boom. There you go. There's a better view right there. Dude. What the hell? That is so cool. I mean, you're telling me we didn't, like, you know what I mean? Try some of this shit? Get out of here. And they just break it down. There's a lot of files about it. I don't know. I didn't read a bunch of it. There's a lot going on, right? The control shutters there. Interesting. Very, very, like, mixing our technology with this sort of futuristic idea. So obviously they thought flying saucer, there might be something to this, right? Let's look into this. And apparently this project was during the 50s, right? And why did they call it 1794? Interesting. Is there something in American history from 1794, like the date that I don't know about? I don't know. Yeah, just very cool. Look, they got graphs. They got all kinds of stuff in here. You know, you guys can nerd out, go through this, nerd out, read all this stuff. And there's so much. I mean, look at this. What in the hell is this thing? You know, it's probably not that exciting, but to me, this just looks like, what the hell? How do you even come up with something like this? You know? I don't know. I look at this and I go, I don't think they're reverse engineering UFO technology. Or maybe they are. I don't know. I don't know, y'all. Or mimicking it, right? A scale subsonic model. So schematics, and then they built. Whoa. Okay, interesting. So they built a half of one to test it. Yeah, again, so much to go through here, y'all. Oh, look at this. So, look, they got it stuck on this thing, right? And they're testing it, I guess. Dude, that just looks cool, man. Kind of looks like a spinning blade, right? Like an arm. And then a spinning blade, like, watch out. Bond villain. Look at this stuff. Secret, just saying. Anyway. Very interesting. I don't know. Look at all this stuff. Just interesting to see what we were working on, right? Just very cool. So, look, one more here. This is from a 1952 report. Here, let me zoom in here. Look at that. December 10th, 1952, restricted headquarters, Air Base Wing, Mitchell Air Force Base, New York. Subject, report of unidentified celestial object, a UCO. That should be a new name people use. UCO, unidentified celestial object. I guess once we know, I guess that would be the term after we, I don't know. This is saying it's a celestial object and that's unidentified rather than flying, right? It's that's already making an assumption right there that it's celestial to some extent. But why use that term? That's interesting. Look, commanding general, right? Air technical, whatever. In accordance, the attached report of an unidentified flying saucer. Look, it's got stamps. Paul McDermott Jr., a major, United States Air Force. M. Howie. Man, you can't even read that paper. Jesus. This has 15 documents that you can get through. It's like some of the details are gone. Incident disclosed that source of report could not verify his previous statements, which appeared to be possible fabrications, hallucinations, and hearsay. Corroborating witnesses were also reluctant to make any statement describing what had occurred, which invalidates the reliability. Why couldn't I say that word, y'all? I just had a brain malfunction there. Of original report. This information is submitted in letter form to none avail. Interesting. So even back then, there's a stigma, right, of, I'm sure, of reporting this stuff. Anyway, look, I'm going to put links to all of this, y'all. Go check it out. There's a lot of cool stuff to check out, dig through. There's photos, videos like that. Man, there's just all kinds of cool stuff. So curious to read all the comments on this one. And what do y'all think? Are we going to get that information? What's in our way, right? Will that wedge of national security always be there? Is this an out, right? Is this just to keep us happy? But we're not really solving anything, right? So we don't question it because we think, oh, it's happening, right? Like recycling. Anyway, not to get into that. But all right, y'all. See you tomorrow, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.